Hello and welcome to Dubai Real Estate Unplugged, brought to you by the team here at Haus. Again, I'm Luke Remington, Managing Director of the Haus Group, and today we're joined by James Perry.
Hello.
And Jamie Hemingway. Jamie, it's nice to have you back. We spoke a while ago, but before we get into that, just introduce yourself for people that can't remember.
Yeah, of course. Jamie Hemingway, Sales Manager, Dubai Hills Estate. From Liverpool background, as you can probably tell by the accents of all the listeners. And yeah, just ready to get onto the podcast today.
You, James, welcome back as well.
Thank you so much.
Jamie, you're an interesting one. We wanted to bring you on today. This is focused around recruitment and journeys and what people have done. And you've been quite a bit of a success story. How long have you been with us now? Tell us a bit about how you got started, what you did before, that kind of thing.
I started off as a mechanic, did an apprenticeship, always wanted to set a garage up in Australia.
Really?
With my dad, drink Coronas on the beach. That was the original plan. And then I moved into sales then, went top performer in the UK for Audi.
Car sales?
Group car sales.
Yeah.
And then did about a year and a half there.
Okay.
Then moved down to London to do recruitment.
So this must be at an early age then, because you're young now. You're 25 today.
25 now. I finished my apprenticeship when I was 20.
Okay.
So I went into car sales when I was just turning 21.
Okay.
So I did that for about a year and a half.
So what? Left school at what age?
Left school at 16.
Kicked out?
Got up. No, not kicked out. Pushed out. No, they basically wanted me. I had the qualifications to go to university. But for me, I just felt like there was more of a path to go down by going into a different avenue, which is more like a career.
Yeah.
Rather than going to university for 3 years and then coming out and trying to find a job.
Yeah.
Like I'd have all the experience hands-on before that.
So the dream you had about the I think you said a garage in Australia and drinking Coronas, at what age was that dream before?
About 16 when I got my results from GCSEs.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to kind of earn some money from car sales to go into the... Is that dream still there?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I love Dubai now. I'd never leave.
No.
He's actually still drinking Corona on the
Still
beach,
drinking
just in a different
Coronas.
country.
Yeah.
Just down on Palm Jumeirah rather than Australia.
No, it's really interesting, and you've obviously been a big success. And I think for the listeners or people that would be in the position that you were in, kind of leaving school, maybe with results that were probably not what they would have hoped for. There is still opportunities out there, and I think that's what real estate really kind of jumps out to people, that if you haven't necessarily got these amazing grades, but you can talk and you've got a nice personality. James deals with a lot of the recruitment here. James, can you remember speaking to Jamie all those years ago?
I've just been having a quick chat to Jamie actually before the podcast, and he was reminding me about a little story, because I actually interviewed him, and the story was him taking on a champion swimmer in a regional heat in some baggy shorts when everyone was suitably dressed in trunks and
Speedos.
Yeah, that probably sums up Jamie. I think every time you speak to him, he's got a good story to tell. He always brings a smile to your face. He's one of those real, big characters that we've got in the office that bring a lot of the energy. I think you definitely know when he's in the room.
For sure.
Not in a bad way. Like I say, he's a big character, lots of fun, but he's also super professional with it, and definitely got lots about him.
So when you are speaking to a potential Jamie, and you haven't spoken before, maybe you've exchanged a few emails, they've come through the recruitment team and they're going to be lined up for an interview with you. You don't necessarily know what you're going into, right? You may have seen a short video, or you may have spent a bit of time going through their CV. What makes it stand out for you? What makes you say, right, that person needs to be offered a job?
I guess there's no hard and fast rule.
Yeah.
We obviously look at CVs. As you mentioned earlier, we do actually get people to do a short video as part of the recruitment process. Candidates would do a first stage interview and then usually come through to myself or one of the management team. I think it just depends on the person. If they've got bags of experience, whether it's locally or from another market around the world, then obviously that stands for a lot. it's not the only thing that we look for, but I think with someone like Jamie, for me, a big indicator of how they will do is just their energy, and you can probably tell that within the first 5 seconds of a Zoom call.
Right.
I think it's very true what they say, first impressions count.
Yeah.
Jamie's got a lot of bounce about him, and it's something that I look for in interviews. We have people, just to maybe be a little bit contradictory to what I've just said, I've interviewed thousands of people with lots of experience, and they actually haven't got a job because they just don't have the right energy. And I think it does count for a lot,
Does it, obviously it's changed massively over the years, so a lot of things are now done, especially with recruiters, or us recruiting from the UAE, and typical employees would be coming from Europe or Australia, US, so a lot of it's done on Zoom. How important is someone having their camera on, looking respectable, being on time? I know we talked about it recently. Is it good to see small amount or short periods in jobs? So for instance, I think I've had 2 jobs in kind of 40 years. 40 years, I mean, since I left school, but at my age. What I'm trying to say is it better to be like me and have fewer jobs, fewer positions, or is it nice to see someone that's jumped around and maybe, a go-getter, and I'm not going to stay here if I can't see growth in the next 6 to 12 months?
Look, I think it depends on the reasoning. Some of maybe your values, Luke, I just don't think are there in the modern world. That kind of loyalty is something that I definitely respect in you, but I just don't think a millennial or a young person coming to Dubai and necessarily have the same outlook, where they're going to stay in a job for maybe 20, 25 years.
Yeah. Did you meet people and just be like, this isn't going to work? Are you honest enough to tell them this kind of stuff?
So just in terms of recruitment process, we also have a checklist. So when people come through for a second interview with myself, our recruitment team would actually send me a checklist based on their appearance, their energy, like lots of different things. It's a 10-pointer, and we would grade people, and they have to get basically over a 7 to actually get a second stage interview. Obviously, I'm not going to go into everything that we look for because people will be trying to do that, but we are quite keen on it. Yeah. What you mentioned earlier about, people kind of bouncing around different jobs. Honestly, I would say that of myself earlier on. I didn't really know what I wanted to do until I got into a state agency and real estate. I just wasn't in that fortunate position where I found something that clicked. One of my friends in the UK has a very high position globally for Amazon. And I always remember him. He always had very good jobs when we were younger. And I was like, look, how have you settled? How have you got into this career and all this different kind of stuff? But one thing I do remember about him, and he still says this to this day, that in his field, they say that you should change jobs every 2 years because it actually shows that you're trying to push yourself. And it might be like a slightly different role, but that's something that is always maintained. Even if you've been happy in a company or in a position, he's either moved company or gone for a different position in that company that it was in. Yeah. So I think it depends on the experience. Look, I think if someone's, and obviously this is down to myself and the other recruiters to pull out in an interview, but if someone's moving around because they're just not into life, I suppose, and into work, then obviously that's a problem. I think it very much depends on the conversation. I don't think it's a natural precursor of someone not doing well or doing well in the job. Yeah. I do understand that people, don't find the right things to do, and like I say, many people that I've had conversations with in this business, sometimes people say to me, look, it's the job that I've had the longest. I love it here. I can't see me leaving. I can't see me leaving Dubai. And of course, that's not everybody, but there's plenty of people over the years that I've spoke to that were like, I just wasn't settled, but now I'm actually making the money that I want to be earning. And this is one of the reasons why I came to Dubai, was because in the roles that I was doing previously, I didn't feel that the energy I was putting in, I was getting the monetary reward out. Yeah. But Dubai, as a broker, I actually felt for the first time really in my life that I was actually remunerated in the right way. Yeah, interesting.
I think it's a good point that as well, though, right? Because I did recruitment in London, so I used to hire graduates to start with into sales positions. So obviously recruitment's a sales role, right? And when I came over to do real estate for House and House, like Sharice, our head recruiter, she used to get me on the phone to quite a lot of people to get my opinion on it. Yeah. It's like with the longevity points, I think, okay, you can do a job for 5 years, but what have you wanted to achieve in that 5 years? If you stayed in the same role for the whole time, have you worked your way up the ranks? Like, have you actually wanted the progression to earn more money? So I think that's a big thing as well. Like, if you have been in a company, have you progressed throughout that time, or have you kind of plateaued and just got a bit?
Yeah. Cast your memory back. How did you get in touch with Haus and Haus? And, you know, what skepticism did you have? How were you feeling at that time? You know, you were in car sales, you're at Audi, you're at a big kind of company. There's obviously progression. There's lots of different avenues within the Audi group, I'm sure. You know, why did you get in touch? How did you find us? And how did you find the process? And you know, be completely transparent, because people will be doing what you did, listening to this thinking, could I potentially do it? Yeah. So how was it?
Very strange, I'd say, and I'd say very lucky in the same sense. Okay. Just down to the fact that I actually got offered a job by my neighbour in Liverpool. Her nephew owned a real estate firm in Dubai. Okay. And I actually interviewed back in 2018 for a job, and he said I didn't have enough sales experience for the role, but I knew myself that I did. So then I ended up moving into car sales position, right? Okay. So 3 years later, he emailed me about a virtual Zoom, just like have a coffee. It was during COVID time, and I was like, yeah, of course, no worries. So I'm sat there, t-shirt on, just having a chat. Offered me a job, and I was like, I thought this was just a coffee and a catch up, like you're a family friend, right? Yeah. So I was like, I don't know who to speak to about what the market's actually like in Dubai. Like, lots of people feel like they get sold the dream. Yeah. Because understanding that you can get told you'll earn £10,000 a month tax free, like, is actually achievable, because to me it wasn't realistic. So I was quite active on LinkedIn. So I wrote in sales director, Dubai, real estate. I thought I'm going to find the most English person on the platform and just ask them for advice, really. So I was scrolling through, I found a guy from Kent, baldy, glasses on, the most English person I've ever seen in my life. So dropped him a message basically and said, hi mate, like, this is my profile. This is what I've achieved over the last 3 years in my current role and my previous role in sales. I just want your advice on if it is a good move for me to jump to Dubai, because it's a big commitment, right? And then he was like, yeah, cool, like, when are you free to have a call? So I was like, oh, what a nice guy. Jumped on a phone call to him. Hour and a half later, we got off the call. Next thing I know, I'm on the phone to James Perry on a Zoom call.
So for people that don't know, the bald guy with the glasses.
The bald guy with the glasses is the managing director of the company now, Charlie Bannon. But he gave me a full insight on what the market had to offer and how I personally could thrive in that market. So for me, when I understood the culture, the opportunity, and for me more than anything, and back to the longevity point, I had 2 job roles prior to moving to Dubai. I was in Audi for around 6 years, gone from mechanic to sales, and then I went into recruitment and worked my way up the ranks with 3 promotions in about 16 months. Yeah. So for me, I needed that mentorship, and seeing that was on offer at Haus and Haus, like, that's what made me end up moving to Haus. Yeah. Without having to let the family friend down who now doesn't speak to me.
How did you feel, Jamie? You know, you're leaving Liverpool. How did you feel? Did Charlie make you feel like you would? Because, and this is what I've spoke to James about numerous times, is we can pretty much say what we want, can't we? Yeah. And I think that's what we're up against. We are up against companies that will sell the dream and say, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And then you get here, you've flown across the world, and you've paid a lot for your flight ticket. You've got a car. You've said cheerio to mum, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, what have you. Talk is cheap. And then how do you deliver on it? How do you make people believe that we're actually going to deliver on what we say we're going to do? As one of our values is, we do what we say, right?
I can tell you a funny story, actually, which I was talking to Charlie about the other day. So when he did his interview and got offered, in his head he was thinking, yeah, this sounds fantastic, amazing and brilliant, I'm ready for it, kind of thing. And then I can't remember, I'll have to check with him, I think it was the recruiter that he came via. He actually phoned them up afterwards and said, right, I've accepted the job, I've signed the offer letter, now just tell me if it's a scam. Really? Because what he felt like was just, it was just too good to be true. And, you know, for anyone that doesn't know the story of Charlie, he came as a leasing broker, went to be a senior leasing broker, moved to the sales side, senior sales broker, then he was the leasing director, then sales director. We've just promoted him to managing director for January 2024. So he wouldn't be here, wouldn't be here and progress through the company in probably like the perfect kind of elevation if it wasn't true, if it wasn't right, you know.
You can understand why people would be skeptic about it.
100%.
Yeah, I was.
100%.
I remember in between my call with Charlie to yourself, James, I said, I don't believe this is right. Like, I can't understand how someone can come from in the UK earning like £4,000, getting tax on it, taking home two, to doing a job for 6 months, 9 months, and then earning £10,000 tax free. Like, that money to me is like doctor money or lawyer money, and I've not been to university, so how can I do that, right? And then I got on the phone to Chris Reeves, one of the first people who I actually spoke to, and when I spoke to him, once again on the phone for 45 minutes, and he was like, yeah, I was staying £10,000, £12,000, and I was like, bit like the Wolf of Wall Street, like, show me a paycheck and I'll quit my job right now and fly over, right? Yeah. And I was like, are you serious? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, can't really ask him to send me his payslips, like, but I'll just take his word for it. But with that, made me realise the money's definitely there. And then culture-wise as well, like, will I make friends there? It's quite an expat community, right, Dubai, especially in real estate. And the one thing I've found out a lot more now is that the people who you're around with back at home is doing the same stuff different day, whereas like over here everyone's got the same ambition to climb further and further up the ladder, and they're all on the same wavelength. Like, everyone's here for the same goal by the end of the day, which is first of all to make money and make a name for themselves, and be the person who breaks through the family more than anything.
James has just spoken about Charlie, and he's gone through these different stages at House and House. Jimmy, you've come in and you've obviously had that progression. You're now sales manager with the Dubai Hills Estate team. How did that journey go for you? It's obviously a short amount of time, really, isn't it, to get to manage a role within 2.5 years. You've got a successful team. You're doing some big numbers. And I think you could confidently say that probably a lot of homeowners in your particular patch, Dubai Hills Estate, would know of you. Funny enough, I haven't said this to you, and I've only just thought about it now, but I was actually with someone last night saying, do you know someone called Theo? He's always on the phone to me trying to sell a house, and I know Theo's in your team. So you have a really good culture, you're dynamic, and you all get on very well. How was that journey that you saw going from kind of sales to kind of getting these high numbers? What makes you proud? What makes you tick? What makes you, keep striving? For me, more than anything, going from kind of entry level of, I don't know the job, I don't really know how to do it, but I'm just going to get mentored and follow a process. Like, for me, I've always been a bit of a bull in a china shop, which I'm sure you'd all agree with, to be honest, especially Charlie as well. Like, I'll just run riot basically, and then come to Charlie and go, I've got all these offers out, like, can we sit down and kind of sort it out? It's like, when I first started, I wasn't getting any of that, and I was like, it's good at car sales, it's good at recruitment, it's like, what's different now? And I was like, must just be a time thing, right? So I thought, I'll keep going. So month 2 came, month 3 came, and still no deal. And I was on the brink of saying, like, is this the right job for me? And then I remember Megan Fluke, which I'm sure you all remember really well. We're really good friends now.
You're going to say Megan Fox then?
No, I wish. Sorry, Meg Fluke, but I'd take her any day of the week. But she basically said to me, like, just try it for another couple of weeks and see what happens. I was like, you know what, fine. So I turned up to my viewing, and I wasn't like, I was just thinking to myself, what's the worst thing that happens?
What's this, 5 months in?
4 months, 4th month it was.
Okay.
And I just wasn't as like serious on the viewings. Like, I was still being professional, but I was just a bit more relaxed, because I was like, it's not worked for 3 months. Like, it's probably not going to work now, right? Went to the viewing. First time I met the person, he couldn't speak English. Gave me an asking price offer straight away, and I earned like £14,000. And then from there, it was just a domino effect of like, once you got the first deal done, it's just tumbleweeds from there, just a continuous like rolling effect for it. So
I wouldn't say you're a bull in a china shop. You're a bit of a whirlwind. It's like organised chaos. But there's a lot of people in this market that are just chaos.
Oh yeah,
and
100%.
and they're not productive. But one thing that, like, I really admire in you, and you know, we've got plenty of people in the team like this, but it is actually a quite hard thing to nail in this market as a broker. Is just when you've got a deal on the cusp, you're just laser focused on it and know how to close it. And so many people I've seen over the years, they have these, you know, deals in their hands and then it just seems to evaporate. Whereas I think it's fine the way that you operate. That's just your nature, right? You're just 100 mile an hour, but you still get things done.
Oh, 100%. I think it's a long stretch, right? The sale from the first interaction, from getting the listing on to closing a deal. But in my opinion, like, the 99% before you get that offer is not really that hard. It's the actual closing the deal when you get 10% under asking price offer and you're like, how on earth am I going to close this? Right, I need to come up with a reason as to why it should be accepted. Data, analytics, like everything like that comes into play with like where the market's at, where it could be moving, what's going on globally in the world as well. Whereas lots of brokers who I know, who I've worked with in different companies, they just don't have the same kind of knowledge and skill set for it. They'll just present an offer like, here's your offer.
It's really interesting because I didn't know you were that probably close to throwing the towel in. And I think that's probably one thing that James and I would see is the amount of people that probably do throw it in. Because there is that, you know, that self-doubt, and you know, you've been successful at Audi, you've done the recruitment thing, you've got really high expectations of yourself. I was good there, why aren't I good here? You're in a new country, you're in a completely new job role, you're learning the company, you're learning your new friends and stuff. Why do people throw in the towel so early? I do get it's commission only, and you know, there's only a certain amount of time you can go on, but is it actually that realistic, Jamie? If you've got someone coming into your team now today that's going through what you went through, would you be telling them to hang on, or would you understand that, look, actually, from what I've seen in the last 4 months, you're probably not going to work out?
Well, for me, obviously I'm quite new to being a manager, right? And the one thing I do with every single new starter, I'm sure you've probably seen the picture of the guy with the hack axe and he's getting towards the diamonds that's further away. And I show them that on the very first day and say, look, like, this is the epiphany of this job. You could be an inch away from getting to that golden nugget that's going to make you 100,000, 200, 300,000 pounds. It could just be one client. It could just be that it all falls into place for you. But if you quit too early before you've got to that stage, you'll be kicking yourself for the rest of your life. Because if you go back to the UK or go back to wherever your hometown is, like, I don't know any job that can earn this kind of money at all. My uncle's a doctor, I've got friends who are lawyers, like, I know what they get paid, right? And it's just unparalleled basically to what you can earn in Dubai. And the opportunity and the clients that you meet as well, it's just a different kettle of fish.
It is so. It's actually crazy with the numbers that we've seen with a few people this year. What's been going on? Obviously, the market's been extremely heated. We've gotten someone in new to the company that's number one, has done it kind of 11 months. We've got people like you, Jamie, that have, you know, been here a while, but, you know, going from strength to strength. What advice could you give to someone starting out? If there was a Jamie somewhere around, maybe in Everton, not in Liverpool or somewhere, but maybe they're coming out here, what would you honestly say? What if your son was coming out to a real estate company? What advice could you give them?
First of all, if there's any Jamies out there, like, come and join my team for sure. I'll get you a bill and lots of money and make you very rich. But yeah, it's like, to answer your question, it's more just a fact of, like, are you actually ready to make that step up? Because people in the UK, in my opinion, they can move out a bit too prematurely. They'll move out at kind of very young ages where they've not gained any actual experience in life yet. I'd say, like, for me, where I did like mechanics and car sales, I was interacting with people of all different age points. Like, people who are coming out, if they've got experience dealing with people of different age brackets, it works quite well. Because one day I might be out with an 18-year-old guy who's a billionaire in crypto, which is one that I've just sold a record-breaking house to. And then the next minute I'll be going with an owner of one of the biggest ski companies in the world, who is very intellectual, he's very smart, he's running a multi-million-pound business. and that can be morning versus afternoon, right? So I think being adaptable is a massive thing. I do say being a chameleon, being able to fix yourself to any situation, definitely important. But experience-wise, I just say listen to what you're told by people who have been in the market and have been successful. I feel like so many people come from a sales background who feel like they know well.
Yeah.
I moved over and thought I was the Wolf of Wall Street when I came into the job, and 3 months later I still wasn't doing a deal, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? So I went and sat down with all the top 10 performers in the business and said, what's your process, what you do differently? And they probably hated it, like a newcomer coming over and saying, oh, you're doing really well, like what are you doing differently? But to be fair, everyone gave me the time of day, and I've picked something out of everyone.
Yeah.
Charlie Bannon quite a lot as well. He's very knowledgeable on situations. Like I've learned quite a lot from him. I'd say he's been like my mentor in the role. But for people coming over, like don't be scared to ask for help.
I think that's probably what I've noticed. I'm sure James would agree, and we were just talking about this a minute ago, but you know what you've done is you've had a family friend that's going to bring you out to Dubai. You've then gone on to LinkedIn. You've obviously got some experience on LinkedIn, but you've just done a few things. You found a guy, you've reached out, he might come back to you, he might not, but you're trying to get advice. And from what I always see of you, you're never afraid to ask, even if you don't get a reply or a knockback. Yesterday or this week, we've had Josh Fegan out for 3 days training. He's done 3 days training with us, and then he's got 1 day rest. On his day rest before he flies back to Australia, you phoned me and you've said, Luke, can I have Josh's number? And I'm like, you can, mate. What do you want? You're like, well, I just want to go and sit with him for an hour and a half to learn. I'm like, well, he's just done 3 days with the company that we've paid for. I don't know how acceptable he's going to be to sit down on his relaxing day. But yesterday you've gone and had an hour and a half with him because you want to get better. And then you phone me after buzzing saying, how do I improve? How do I get better? What am I going to do? It's like relentless. You're always trying to strive.
I think just on that, while you were talking, I was thinking, you probably don't remember, but I showed a video once in a meeting. It was of Steve Jobs, and he was talking about when he was a 9-year-old phoning Bill Gates and picking his brains about business. And I think the message of that, it's a very short clip, you'll be able to find it on YouTube, but the message of it is that anyone in his life that he's asked for advice has never turned him down. And it goes hand in hand with what you're saying, right? I think just that, you said it before, relentless, that persistence, that going the extra mile, that's just one tiny part of your day, week, month, year. But then it's just those extra 1% that you're doing here, there and everywhere that people may be scared to do, afraid to do, can't be bothered doing, that actually like get you the edge.
100%. It's just like, I've read the book Atomic Habits, and talks about being like the 1% difference, and it makes so much sense in hindsight. It's like if you can make yourself 1% better every single day, it might be the smallest thing, might be doing a day plan. Like all the lads on my team, I've got them consistently doing a day plan structure from 9 o'clock till 8 o'clock to say, this is what I'm doing at 9 o'clock, this is what I'm doing at 10, just to get them into a routine of like, I'm going to plan my day out. And it's not really about the structure of the day, it's more about that doing stuff themselves. It's like doing that's helped the team a lot now as well. And like for me, like, shy kid doesn't get sweets right. You don't ask, you're never going to get. And I've always been brought up around that. I think it's my mum that's kind of installed that into me, because I always wanted to learn more on stuff, like no matter what area or aspect it was in. Was it from football? Was it from school? Was it in work? Like I always wanted to understand stuff at that next level. And for me, when there's someone experienced who's done it 10 times over, there's no one better you can go to, right? Than to ask them for advice. And the worst thing he says now, like Josh would have said now, I would have said, well, kind of buy you dinner instead then, and then, you know, like we'll sit down and have dinner. Anyway. Exactly. Like I wasn't going to say no for an answer. Like he's a nice guy, right? But it's the same with sellers and buyers, right? It's like you go on a viewing, do you want to make an offer? I'm not too sure. Like, what's holding you back? So ask the question. Like the worst thing you go is like, I'm not making an offer. You go, okay, cool, then what is, I'll catch up with you tomorrow. But people in this industry are scared to ask questions, and if you don't ask, like, you're never going to know.
What do the next 5-10 years look like, Jamie?
Well, it's funny because we were speaking about this yesterday.
Well, you were talking about 15 years ago. James, when Jamie phoned me, he's like, in 15 years I'm going to be 40. And I'm like, well, that's younger than I am now, mate. So, you know, you're in a superb position to be where you are today.
Yeah.
But what to the next 5, 10? Let's not, maybe 15 years is a bit.
15 is a bit far. I'll be retired on a beach in 15 years.
Drinking those Coronas.
Drinking them Coronas with my dad, yeah. 5-year plan for me is that I want to progress further up the ranks at haus. I'd love to get to like a sales director role where it's more like hands-off biller and just mentoring people through deals.
Is that what makes you excitable? Is that what you like doing?
I see you love deals, like.
But do you like see? Is it?
I love them, you know.
Is it you, or is it seeing others do them as well? Because I know you coach.
People. Like my team, right? I've got 5 people in my team now. I saw one of the lads, not going to say his name, but he wasn't performing in one of the other teams in the company.
Yeah.
Moved over to my team, and I could see like a little bit of fire in him. He had something there. I just didn't know what it was or how I was going to make it work. And I was thinking, this guy's asked to work on my team. I don't know him, first of all. I've never been a manager before, but I built like all right money. So I got in, sat down with him and just wrote a script out for him. I was like, just do this and see what happens. Next thing I know, I've got an offer. And I'm like, you've spent 3 months and not even got a listing right. It's like doing so well. So he's way over target now. And every time he does a deal, no matter how big or small, I thrive off it.
Yeah.
Theo also, he's one of my new starters. He's actually from Liverpool.
Yeah.
He was going to join another company.
Okay.
Ended up going for a coffee with him before he went for the interview. And I was like, just come and meet Charlie Bannon with me. He sat down, he was closed. Contract got signed before he even went to the interview. He's came in, he's like over 200% of target now as well. One of my other friends from school, 4 years old, we've known each other for it's like 21 years now. He's just done his first deal 2 days ago and he's just got another deal agreed today. So like for me, seeing them do a deal, I get a lot more satisfaction off my own deals.
Yeah.
Like yes, like obviously you earn more money billing your own
Yeah.
money and doing your own houses, right? But seeing them grow from kind of entry level to senior to principal to managing director, like all the way up the ranks.
Certainly when you get those ones that maybe aren't succeeding, but you can see, like you said, you could see a little fire going, and it seems like you just thrown petrol on it and you just ignited it.
Yeah,
and the bonfire's growing. Jamie, thanks ever so much. Thank you also, James. Thank you to our listeners for joining us today. If you think you've got it, what it takes, and you'd like to be part of the team or part of Jamie's team, you can get in touch. You can either drop Jamie a little message on LinkedIn. He's quite, you're on there quite often.
Active on there, yeah.
You are indeed. That's the word I was looking for. We want to, so by all means, get in touch with us, or you can check out our careers page in the show notes. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you're notified when we drop a new episode. Thanks and goodbye.